I knew it. I knew that we couldn't get through this show without getting a Lilia episode, and honestly, I think next time, a Jen episode. Also, that Rio reveal though. Was anyone expecting that? Honestly, after they tweeted the tarot that was in this episode, I was expecting that. But also, what a reveal. Hello everyone, welcome back. It is time for us to talk about another Agatha All Along episode. It was Witchy Wednesday, and now it is Talk About Witchy Wednesday Thursday, where I'm here to talk to you about Agatha All Along, episode 7. That's right, we have 2 episodes left, and this has been a doozy of a show. It really has been a fun ride. We're almost at the end, and I've just really loved the journey of each episode and getting to know these witches, and it makes me sad because we get to know them and then they're gone, and they're just gone too soon. So we're gonna talk about this episode, but before we do, a friendly reminder, spoiler warning. I kind of already said a few things in the intro, but nothing explicitly spoilery, I don't think. So we're gonna get into some real spoiler stuff though in the conversation, and I just want to give you a heads up. This episode, what is it about? It is basically the Lilia episode, I would say. The focus of the episode is on Lilia, what's been going on with her, the random things she has blurted out through the season, her life, her journey, her trial. And at the same time, we're dealing with some tension between pretty much everybody and Billy, because when it comes to our teen, obviously, the release of the power, the reveal that he is Billy Maximoff, has created some tension, and the fact that he kind of, sort of, seemingly tried to take out Lilia and Jen, even though didn't do that, just kind of kicked them off the road. But that is also another thing we're dealing with in this episode. But basically, it's about Lilia. It's about Lilia, her trial, and her coming to terms with who she is, her power, and just loving being a witch. We also get a reveal near the end of this episode as to who Rio really is. This is something that some folks were actually theorizing about. It was not something that I particularly had a theory on, although I had heard this theory before, was that she is Death. And that is something that was confirmed here, which is very interesting because having Mistress Death as a character, I feel like there's big implications beyond just this show in terms of the MCU and the world in general with that. So I'm very curious to see where this leads us and if Aubrey Plaza will play a larger role in the MCU in general, or whether this is going to be a self-contained thing, and also what this means for Agatha's relationship with Death. It's a very interesting element of the show. I think really what I want to focus on with this episode is that I'm really getting attached to a lot of these witches the more I get to know them, and then I get really sad when they're done. Their time seemingly is up. Now, I know when Jen and Lilia went last time, people said, well, that's maybe that, and they're maybe out. But I said, this feels like a show where each episode is focusing on one of them. So to have Jen and Lilia removed when they haven't had really an episode to focus on them, they haven't really had a trial on their journey along the Witch's Road, doesn't really make sense to me. And I just think in terms of the layout, the pacing of the show, that would be strange. Ultimately, I was correct in guessing that they weren't actually dead, and they did return. We also seemingly dealt with the Salem 7, but I also feel like that was too easily dealt with for that to be the resolution for that group as well. Lilia seemingly sacrifices herself to take them out. I'm curious to see if that is the end of that, or if we're going to see more of them, because for how big of a threat they made the Salem 7, I just think it would be a bad idea to get rid of them in that manner, because it feels too easy. It feels like we didn't really get to enjoy what the Salem 7 represent, the danger that they're supposed to embody. I also feel that this episode was interesting in terms of how quickly everyone was willing to kind of forgive Billy. That was another thing that I'm still kind of processing how that works, and just even Billy's sort of nonchalance towards potentially taking people out permanently, and just his approach to a lot of things is interesting here. I just feel like I don't really know what's going on with him, and it's a kind of a shift from the last episode where I felt really connected to this character and I loved the journey that we were taken on. I don't know if it maybe has to do also with the fact of how this show was shot, and maybe it was shot really not in sequence, and so maybe some of the direction or some of the performances here, I'm not sure if it's a performance issue, if it's a script issue, but I will say this episode, there were things that felt a little bit off to me. However, that being said, I still really enjoyed the episode because it was focused on Lilia, and that means we get to be focused on Patti LuPone, and I love Patti. I think that she's a scene stealer in the show, okay? She's a scene stealer in the show. I loved that we got an episode focused on her and that we explored this idea of how everyone her whole life has kind of thought that she was just this crazy person, but she has this really powerful gift of not really seeing time as linear because it isn't. And this is also something that I just found interesting as a concept because in terms of time in general, I mean, I've really watched a lot of content that discusses how we experience time and what time really is, and how as human beings, it can actually be hard for us to really see time for what it is. Time is like this construct that we have created. It's not tangible. I don't want to get into it too much because I could do a whole video on this that it would be something totally different and it would be very like meta. We'd get into like also physics and metaphysics and all of this stuff that I'm not going to get into here. But just that is specifically a concept that I've been very interested in my life. So to see that brought up here and see it manifested in this world of magic and this idea of visions and jumping through time, because it isn't linear, was really, really cool. And I just found really interesting as someone that's interested in that. So that is a cool thing that we have here. But the other thing that I think I just really love is getting to see everything come full circle for the character and seeing her come to terms with who she is, valuing herself, and kind of coming to terms with death. Death also being a character in the episode, being very fitting that this is the episode where we get the reveal, as it feels like this is probably the last we'll see of Lilia. Although we don't see her die on screen, I think they just spared us that because it would be maybe a little too upsetting. However, we didn't see her die on screen, so there is a possibility that she could still be alive. I just don't think that's where we're going with it, because it feels like they really did try to complete her story in this episode, which is sad because I really like her as a character and I wish she could have continued on, but I figured that, you know, this would be a character who would only be here for just the series, and then that would be it. And of course, Agatha All Along is supposed to be a mini-series. A lot of people have also been talking about like potential season 2, but I'm pretty sure this is just supposed to be one season because we have WandaVision, Agatha All Along, and then we're gonna have Vision Quest. And I think those are all 3 parts basically of a story that they each make up a part of it. And altogether, that's one kind of collection. They all kind of connect to each other. So, cats running around. So that is where I'm at with this episode. And I really found it interesting in general. I think the tarot elements and seeing all the cards come back and seeing how I was even theorizing earlier on that like each card was kind of a person. So to see that all spelled out was pretty cool. The one thing I will say is that Marvel basically posted the tarot that was in this episode online before the episode came out. And so I already kind of had an idea of who everyone was with the card art that we got as well, and the fact that Rio was probably going to be revealed as Death, even though I still wasn't completely sold on it because I just didn't feel like it was super foreshadowed. But you know, they made some references back to it here, and I was like, yeah, I guess it was kind of teased at. Yeah, I guess it does make sense. It's just, I mean, I think ultimately it was that I wanted Rio to be a different character. I was really hoping for Rio to be, you know, Mephisto would have been cool, Morgan Le Fay would have been cool, but Death is also cool. So I don't dislike what they've done with it. I also, though, wish it wasn't so, I just wish it wasn't like leaked. There were also, we haven't talked about this through my episode reviews, but there were Funko leaks earlier on, which I did not look at, that revealed who the characters were because of the names and the appearances of the Funkos. So earlier on, there were a lot of people that already knew that Billy was Billy, that teen, was Wiccan and was Billy Maximoff because of the Funko leaks. So that is an unfortunate thing. However, does it ruin the show? I don't think so, because there's still a lot for us to explore there, and I still want to know more. I really want to know more now about Agatha and Rio's relationship after this episode, and how that started, and what it means to be a partner of death. But it also makes a lot of sense, because Agatha's powers feel like they're also directly linked to death, since she steals people's power and their life energy, and then they're dead. So, yeah, what is that about? Is there some other connection to death beyond her abilities? Are her abilities like that because of maybe some pact she has made with death? I don't know, but Death is a really interesting character as well in the comics. I mean, Death also has pretty big connections to characters like Deadpool and Thanos, and is just an interesting character. So I wonder if we're gonna see any of those other stories or links possibly in the MCU out of this, or if it's just going to be a sort of one and done for Aubrey Plaza. It would be lovely to keep Aubrey Plaza, because she's also just fantastic, and I have been missing her presence in the show, so I'm glad she's back, and I love the design they did with her as Death. It was so scary, actually, and it also reminded me of, like, man, Aubrey Plaza can just do everything. She's super funny, she can be super scary, she can be super serious. She's just so talented. So I really hope we get a hold on to her. And I'm curious to see who's gonna make it when we get to the end of the road. And what story will we get for Jen? Will we maybe get to keep Jen? Because I just feel like Jen is a really cool character in the comics. So I'd like to keep her, and I'd like to learn more about her. A lot of people have been saying that she's one of the characters they feel the least connected to. But I think it's also, we just haven't seen much of her. There hasn't been much of the character coming through in terms of just what we've been given in the show. I don't think that's really the fault of the performer even. I think it's just they're saving it up for one big episode. Although I think the next 2 episodes are going to be quite linked. So that's kind of a theory that I have going into this. And I am still wondering, what will we find at the end of The Witch's Road? Will we find Tommy? Will we find Mephisto? Will we find Nicholas Scratch? Where is Agatha's son? I feel like we haven't referred to that in a while, so I think that's coming. I think they're kind of hoping we've forgotten about it, and then it's gonna be something. Also, who is he the son of? Agatha and someone? Did Agatha just create him? Is he also the son of Death? Is that possible? Magic, anything is possible. As we found out when Lilia gave Billy his spellbook back and was like, there you go. Although I thought, you know, if you're someone that kind of can pop in and out of different times, it's possible that she grabbed it at an earlier time and didn't remember, and has always had it on her or something. But that was another, there are some things in this episode that, like I said, I didn't like as much, and there are some things that felt a little convenient. That was one of them. However, magic, you can do anything with it. So you can kind of say that and I'll still accept it. I also really loved that she got to be sort of the good witch, and then Agatha was like the wicked witch. It was fun. Overall, a fun episode, some fun looks. I like the design for the cards. And when are we getting, I have to know, an Agatha All Along tarot deck? Because if you don't know, I did a tarot reading dressed as Scarlet Witch. I did a tarot reading stream a few days ago. And one of the things I was talking about is how I would love to have, I mean, they're Marvel tarot decks, but it would be cool to have an Agatha All Along or like a witch tarot deck. And I just really love the art that they did for these cards. So fingers crossed that that is some merch that we're getting in the future, because I would definitely buy that and do another tarot reading stream for y'all. Thanks again to Chris for requesting that tarot stream over on Twitch, which, if you guys don't know, I stream also at twitch.tv/vampex13. And when I do IRL streams that are requested, I open up my requests. You can spend channel points to request a cool IRL stream for me to do. Anyways, let me know what you think of that. Let me know, what even you think of this episode, what you think of stream ideas, whatever you want to talk about down in the comments. I'd really love to hear what you are all expecting or hoping for in these final 2 episodes, where you think we're going next. Do you think we're getting a Jen trial? Who's at the end of the road? Tell me your thoughts. Tell me your theories. Tell me your dreams. I'll see you next time. But until then, friends, as always, stay nerdy. And I hope you have a wonderful witchy week.